Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Pitch Pod. I'm your host, Jeff Stebbins. Thank you for joining us. And join with me, as always, my co-host, Joe Janner. Joe, how are you doing this evening?
Jeff, I'm doing well. As always, happy to be part of the Pitch Pod. Looking forward to have a quick conversation about recap from USA versus Mexico. And looking forward to this marquee midweek matchup between Manchester City and Arsenal. So looking forward to it. Glad to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. Manchester City v. Arsenal, that's the main matchup. But we're going to take a minute and review our previous match. So it was an interesting game. I'm not going to say it was the most exciting game I've ever seen. Team USA versus Team Mexico. But, there were some highlights. There were some good things that happened. For those that didn't get a chance to see the game, it ended in a tie, 1-1. And, it was obvious that U.S. was missing some key players, such as Pulisic. But overall, it was a fine game. I guess I was just hoping for a little bit more. What about you, Joe?
We knew going into it as a friendly exhibition match, however you want to call it, that it might lack, a little bit of the shine and excitement of a official international matchup between the two, the North America Classico, as they bill it. But I thought it was competitive. It was two sides that wanted to win. I don't think there's any doubt about the players on the field in that competition, in that match, on that day, were set to compete to win. I think we mentioned in the previous episode, there was an opportunity for a few players on both sides to, not only make an impact on the respective newer managers and those that are watching. Also to help their personal branding as a player. And so I think they competed. They wanted to put their best foot forward and play. I think that's what we saw. Yes, it didn't have as this exciting of a level that it could have been, like I said, for official. But I enjoyed it. It was a good match. To end in 1-1, I think was fitting too of the performance in what we saw.
Yeah, I will say this. It seemed like Mexico came out definitely more aggressive. They definitely have several more shots on goal than Team USA. But the end result's the same. It's a draw. And the player that stood out to me, who I kind of thought might, and we've talked to him before, we've discussed him before, was Jordan Morris. And in the MLS league, he plays for Seattle Sounders. But he was a starter for Team USA, as we had thought he would be. But to me, he is my man of the match. And the reason for that is his assists that led to the goal to create the draw for Team USA. It was a very nice cross into the box, and he just played a quality match outside of that as well. So my man of the match for Team USA v Mexico is Jordan Morris.
That's a fine pick in a sense that you look at what he did, his performance. He was there and competed and put in the work rate up to the point of putting himself in a position to assist, to get the goal late, to draw a level. So I think that's an appropriate pick for man of the match.
Absolutely. Who's your pick for man of the match?
Can I pick the goalkeeper for Mexico?
You can pick the goalkeeper for Mexico.
I thought he's an exciting performer, and I thought that in some sense when it needed to be, there was a couple of key moments where he performed at the level and definitely helped his side secure that result. Again, 1-1 in that match maybe could have gone either way, but really probably in this instance was a performance enough to warrant giving him the man of the match.
Fair enough. Good pick. That makes sense. Looking ahead here, we have a key Premier League matchup, Manchester City versus Arsenal, and I'm just pulling it up right now. It looks like they're giving Manchester City, obviously they're at home, they have some momentum going. It looks like they're giving them a 62% likelihood of winning against Arsenal, who has a 17% likelihood of winning. We all know they're the top two in the standings. It's a tight race right now. Arsenal's in first. They have 75 points. Man City is just behind them with 70 points. So this is a big game. It looks like a lot of people have made up their minds. Joe, what do you think about those numbers I threw at you right there?
Now, are you sure you weren't looking at a popularity contest in terms of how some fared or how some feel in a sense of where they are and what they're doing? I think it's a little harsh. If those are real numbers to suggest the probability of Manchester City winning in this one, I think that's a little bit leans a little heavy towards their side. I mean, it's taken away really the resume of what Arsenal has put together in the course of the season. I know their form in terms of draw after draw after draw recently is not as exciting of a Manchester City as win win win. But I gotta have a feeling that this is an Arsenal side. They know what they're in for. They know what this match means. I think that's why we're all getting excited. That's why we're talking about it. In a sense, it represents a championship game match for these two. I mean, I think without being said, and still anything can happen. Does the winner of this go on? Know it. I think Arsenal will clearly show up to perform and play with that in mind. Now, yes, Manchester City and their means and their way they go about. I think some of us are looking and going, well, what will Pep do in this type of game? He's often in these types of matches kind of switch things up, or is it going to be Arsenal knowing that and being able to be prepared? That's going to lend himself to getting a result. Again, while we might say it's a must win for both, Arsenal going there to get the draw, I think, would also be something that could be important for them as well. But I think they're going to go for it, Jeff. I think Arsenal's going to go for it. I think Manchester City's going to go for it. So I'm really looking forward to see how this goes down.
Yeah, one thing, I've kind of gone back and forth with this upcoming match. It does seem like the momentum right now is with Man City. But, Arsenal is top of the league for a reason. The thing that kind of concerns me right now about this matchup for Arsenal is it appears that their defender, William Saliba, is actually going to be out for this match due to a ongoing back injury. And I'm just thinking to myself, Arsenal going against a very, very aggressive and attack-ready team with Haaland, missing one of their key defenders, that makes me a little nervous.
Yeah, he's been out for a while. I think, maybe I think the timeline early on was that he'd be back sooner. And so to make note that he's still not there, and then, still Arteta having to maybe take his second or third option there, his center back pairing. Yes, I mean, that is some concern there. But, Jeff, I really think it's going to be more dependent on, we talked about this before, what are you doing as an opposition side to limit the opportunities for Haaland to be in goal scoring places, spaces, areas where he can convert and score? It's 5 steps back, five moves in advance. You're looking at how is it whether you're going to be able to keep them from building out the back, or are you going to take control of the midfield? Are you going to have a strong defensive setup and look to counter when they maybe overexpose themselves or overcommit attacking players? Or is it going to be Arsenal with the ball looking to create their own chances? I mean, we can't leave out the 4 attacking players that have consistently been performing well for Arsenal. Gabriel Jesus, Martinelli, Odegaard, Saka. These are players that are well up to this. And I think that between them, if it's just going to be the 1 goal or the 2 goals they need to win this, I think that they're going to show up and do it.
Yeah. That makes sense. And we've seen when there's tight competition, Haaland doesn't necessarily get, as many goals as he normally would. So I expect him to be active, but you're right. I think Arsenal is going to have a strategy in place on how to limit his touches, really, whether that's a more defensive midfield, which is what I would do, or specifically trying to prevent the ball from being crossed into him. And how do they do that? Maybe it's a shift in rotation. Maybe it's up to the outside defensive backs to just step up and try to, even if it's a ricochet, you take that as opposed to an opportunity for Haaland to get the ball in the box. So those are good points. It's not just about controlling possession to keep it away from Haaland. It's also what can they do strategically defensively to keep it away from Haaland. So that's a great point. I don't know exactly what their plan is, but it seems like the top teams in the Premier League have maybe not found a way to shut him out completely, but have been able to find a way to at least limit his scoring. And I'm not saying that for all the teams in the Premier League, but it seems like at least some of the top teams right now have um, found a way to at least, defend him at a decent level.
That's right. I mean, it's going to require, I think we haven't said it, it's going to require team effort from Arsenal to win this one. Whereas, as many talented players that are on Manchester City, their means to go about winning is going to maybe be fall on the shoulders of an individual player. And that philosophy and that idea going into it could lend itself to how this comes out. I think we've talked about before, the best teams are the ones that get the best results. And could Arsenal, again, on the road in a high pressure situation, a young team led by a relatively young manager, do it? That's probably, again, going back, why you see that. Was it 62% probability that Manchester City wins this? Everybody's looking at those numbers. Everybody's looking at where Arsenal's been in form, or out of form rather, draw, versus Manchester City that's been winning. I can see that, but I think that's not taking into consideration what this means for an Arsenal team that's consistently how many days, how many weeks on top to go into this contest just to give it away. Now, if you ask a huge Arsenal supporter, they'll tell you it's almost written in the books that's to be. I think that you're going to be looking at a really well contested match here, and I'm looking forward to it.
So, Joe, you've made quite a pitch for Arsenal coming into this game. So, I'm kind of curious on what your prediction is. So, Joe, you want to lead us off with your prediction?
Well, I may have even slightly alluded to it before. Where they are and what they've been doing with the draws, and what's to say they get off the draw train here, and again, not maybe ideal. You could say it's win it to go on. I mean, win it to seal where they need to be as far as points and separating themselves. But I'm not so sure that that's not exactly where they could be at the end of this match, Jeff. I mean, I see a 2-2 draw in this one.
I could definitely see that playing out. That's a great prediction. I'm actually going to go with Man City, just barely pulling this out, 2-1. I do think Haaland's going to score one goal, Joe. One goal. One earned goal. I mean, if he gets on the PK line, okay, maybe two. And then I think that the goal for Arsenal, I got a feeling it's going to come from either Martinelli or Saka. That's who I see it coming from in this match. So my prediction, it's not too far off from yours, but I'm going to go with Man City winning this game 2-1.
We'll be looking forward to it. I mean, again, another midweek matchup, Manchester City versus Arsenal. Something to look forward to, something to get excited about. So let's see how this goes down, Jeff. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it should be fun. It should be fun. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in. We really appreciate it. The best way to support us here at the Pitch Pod is to please click that like and subscribe. Also, please feel free to leave comments if you have questions or are trying to get a hold of us. Leave a comment. We'll get back to you. We'd be happy to do that. So please do those things. And as always, keep pitching out there, everyone.
In a game, the round ball, round posts, anything can happen.